Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Control Report. We're going to be doing something a little different this day. Today, that would be what this day is called today. Uh, um, I recently set up this extra piece of desk I have with like a mount and a light, and I want to kind of see how this would go. We might do some like more, I don't know what you'd call it, crafting kind of stuff, like maybe some Nintendo Labo kits, or like some repairs on like some game console stuff. I'm not gonna sit there when it comes to the repairs. I'm not an expert on any of that. It's gonna be me fumbling through it, but I thought it might be kind of fun to go through the process and show those things. But I thought the first thing we could do is I could kind of go ahead and go through some games I picked up recently, or rather, it's a mix of games I bought, some I asked for a while ago from a friend, and he finally got around to sending to me, and also like I had a game from a friend. I thought I'd just kind of do a similar thing I did on my podcast recently, where I basically just kind of talked a little bit about why I picked the game up. But in this case, I think I want to do a little bit talking about the game, like an initial first impression as well. I spent probably about 30 minutes to an hour on all these games, and some in some cases maybe a little more, just a couple of them I think, but and just kind of and there'll be some footage throughout here, so you won't just be seeing my hands in these game cases the whole time. So there'll be some more visually interesting stuff. But I thought we'd try something different. This isn't going to be like a common thing that happens, but it's gonna, I don't know, maybe depending on how it goes, maybe we'll keep it going. So I just grabbed. I have these on my floor, so I gotta lean over to them. So the first thing I picked up is actually a PAL game. So this is a European release. I forget if this is. This does have English on the back, so I believe this is probably released in a majority English speaking area. I think some of these other PAL games I have do not have English on their cases, but yeah, it's a HuneX Shao Demon Sword. It's actually it's not really a port of HuneX for the Dreamcast. If you don't know, it's like an Atlas kind of. I guess the original one's kind of like a first-person brawler where you run around an environment in first person with a bunch of melee combat skills, and it's pretty chunky in the original release, and it doesn't particularly play super well. And what they did with the PS2 version is they actually made it into like a third person hack and slash, like a third person action game. And for my initial experiences, I would say it probably feels a little worse than the main game, or maybe like less unique is how it feels. Really, it's just that game is just kind of chunky as is, and I think that chunkiness was kind of expected with how that game played in the first person, at least at the time. Where the third person, like when you start looking at things like Devil May Cry and stuff that came out around the time, this game pales in comparisons. But I've never played a Shin Megami Tensei game, and this still isn't a Shin Megami Tensei game, but it's got that style, it's got that look. And I played the original on Dreamcast, and I had a good time with it, and so I thought maybe checking out the PS2 version would be kind of neat. Which this one didn't come out in America. It only came out in Europe. Although they didn't include the Dreamcast release actually had English voice acting, but they didn't include that in the PAL release. It's the original Japanese, which I kind of like that Dreamcast era voice acting, but I get it. These days it probably would have been smarter to keep the Japanese than try to recast it. Another thing I picked up was Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales. I actually don't know if the Final Fantasy Fables label was used in any other cases. I at least can't think of any other game that has that title to it. But this is basically, I forget what year this was. Let me see if I can see. 2006, so pretty early DS game. And it definitely, tries to make use of all the touchscreen elements. There's a ton of mini games in here. And I know this is supposed to be like a worn leather, but it looks kind of silly. Like his face is like, I guess his like nose is orange because that's what a chocobo nose is like. But yeah, this is a fun mini game collection from what I played so far. I think there's also like a card game element. Like I didn't actually get any footage of this, but you can see on the back here, there's like little cards and there's like a little battle scene. I don't know, it's kind of hard to show you with this camera that I got here, but yeah, it was cute. It's got like a paper aesthetic. It kind of feels like a Paper Mario game in some ways, but maybe a little dumbed down. I remember it not reviewing particularly well at the time. But yeah, it seems fun. It seems cute. It's got the like very much a Crystal Chronicles style to it, and I do want to check it out someday. I actually don't know how long it is, but I played it a bit on the Wii U using the Wii U emulator, or not Wii U, the DS emulator and the Wii U, like the Virtual Console stuff. And it plays pretty fine as far as I can tell. I didn't notice any kind of graphical glitches or anything like that, which when you are injecting DS games into a Wii U, it can be difficult sometimes to I don't know the word. Like it sometimes the games just don't work out. Sometimes they're either they're crash when they start up, or they're just broken immediately. Or they just have like graphical glitches. Like I was saying, Portrait of Ruin, and Portrait of Ruin was like perfectly fine, except for like one weird green line that would appear in some of the sprite work. It was kind of a interesting. I don't know, but that's the nature of emulation. Sin and Punishment: Star Successor for the Wii. I actually picked this one up for like $5, and I think this game typically stayed at about $5 when it originally came out. I remember seeing a lot of copies of this new at Toys R Us very cheap, and I just didn't pick it up at the time because I didn't have a ton of money. So even though $5 is not a lot of money, when you see a lot of games for $5, that can add up. So I just never ended up picking this one up. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of the original Nintendo 64 release in the Sin and Punishment series. If you don't know, it's basically like a on-rail shooter where you kind of go left and right, and you have a cursor that you move around the middle of the screen. I think in Sin and Punishment, you use the D-pad to move, and then the analog stick to aim is how it is. It's been a while, and they actually put it on Virtual Console. I think you can still get on the Wii U Virtual Console at this point. And this is the sequel that came out, and I remember people liking it a lot. I just never ended up playing it myself. I played like maybe the first like stage or so, and it seems really cool. I like that they in the original game you're kind of limited to the bottom of the level. You could jump, but you didn't really have a lot of free movement in the square. It was mainly just going left, right, and jumping. In this game you can actually like fly around and stuff. So it does have like a different feeling to it. There's like a dodge roll that feels a lot more adaptable to different situations, things like that. And so I'm interested in playing that. The original game was pretty short, so I feel like that game I could probably get through fairly quickly, but I'd have to actually spend some time on it and find out. All these games, I'm just like, someday maybe I'll spend some time on it. Like games like Monster Maker. So if you haven't been following the chronicles of the last month and a half for me, I have recently been looking at PC Engine CD games. I don't own a PC Engine. I never had a ton of interest in the platform. I don't know why, which seems silly considering I have PCFX. But I was looking at a couple, and I'll show you the game later that actually kind of pushed me over the edge. But I was looking at Super CD-ROM games, and I was like, some of these I don't really know. Like, I never really heard of Monster Maker before. It's a very cute RPG. I don't really know if there's like Pokemon mechanics to this where you can recruit monsters. Basically, when I was playing, a little like dog or something started following me around, and he became a party member. And then I talked to like a ninja in a bar, and they became a party member. So I'm not really sure what the Monster Maker part of this game is at this point. But it seems like a pretty typical JRPG. It just has like a cute style. The girls kind of remind me of like anime lemmings or something. I don't know how to put it. And the guys all look very kind of grody in a way, which I think is maybe typical of kind of this era of I guess anime Japanese style games. I don't know. Like I the manual art in here is great though. I actually scanned this whole manual because I just am in love with like the look of the concept art and stuff. Like the eyes and stuff kind of look creepy in the game. But here, like, they just don't look as, I don't know what you call it, uncanny. Like, they have the actual, like, whites to their eyes and stuff, where in game it's a lot harder to tell, and they just kind of have, like, solid colors to their eyes all the way across. It's kind of strange. It's kind of a strange look. I do like the music a lot, too, but this is one of those games, I kind of picked this game up out of guilt, because I kind of made the dude, I actually bought this locally in town, and I made the dude at the store take every PC Engine CD game off their shelf so I could look at it, and I felt bad, and so I was like, well, I have to buy one of these. I got this one. It was like $10. It's one of those games where they don't have it labeled for pricing, and then they just look at the internet and say, okay, someone sold this for $10, therefore it is now a $10 video game. so yeah, I don't have a ton of love for that, but you know, it's interesting. I wouldn't mind spending more time with it, but I guess the real question is, why would I spend more time with it? And I really can't think of a ton of reasons other than just it's cute. Like, the actual sprite work in game, though, is pretty silly, though. But not really silly. It's basically, you know, the typical sprite work for, like, a JRPG. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. This is a gift from my friend Josh. Also, the gifter of the Mighty Number 9, if you saw that video. So, Josh has given us quite the lineup of games. I love Mighty Number 9 so much, so I thank him for that. This game is fine as far as I can tell. I remember this game getting quite a bit of hate when it came out in some cases. I personally didn't have too much trouble with it, but basically it's just like a simplified fighter. There's not a lot. Oh, the cartridge isn't in here. There's not really a lot to it. Man, the inside of these Switch cases are like the most desolate things, huh? It's like, hello, legal text. But it's basically like a simplified fighter, but like really the big gimmick of it is that you can't just like kill the other opponent. You have to use a finishing move to kill the opponent. And I think from my initial impressions, the problem with it is that they simplify the fighter down for no real good reason. Like they kind of limit the inputs you can do and what kind of stances you can have. And I can't really figure out to what benefit. I don't think it makes the game particularly that much easier to play. It just kind of feels like it kind of feels like you're playing single button melee at times. It kind of limits your ability to I guess maneuver and attack players how you want. But maybe the thought process is that it'd be too hard to you know, let the player, or maybe like giving too many options. Maybe that would make it hard to or make it too easy to interrupt a finisher or something like that. I found the words eventually. So yeah, this game seems fine. The aesthetic, at least the Switch version, it's got kind of like a weird plasticky look to it. But I had fun with it. I probably will spend more time with this. I wish the costumes were a little better too. I know they're supposed to be sexy costumes and stuff. But I think you can have sexy costumes and they still be kind of like interesting. I kind of worry that the costumes in this game are a little low bar. Like I think Mai has like a cow suit on or something, like, or a cow bikini on, and it's like I don't really care about the cowgirl thing. That's whatever. But like, it's, as an outfit, I find it kind of boring personally. So you know what is up though? Whiskey. Okay. So I actually bought this. I didn't even buy this case. I tried to buy this game a month or two ago, and the GameStop that had it actually didn't have the game. So they were like, well, we're just going to throw the case out so you can have the case if you want it. And I was like, I want that case. So they gave me the case for free. But Whiskey is a really interesting game. It's very relaxing. You basically just get like thrown on the top of this this mountaintop. Like this it's basically just like a ski hill, and there's like 9 different courses down the ski hill or something like that. And the game doesn't really give you any kind of guidance or objectives. They give you like some brief like tutorial tips or text boxes on how to actually control the game. But it's really just kind of go around and do stuff. Like, there's a racing mode, but it's not really meant to be the main attraction as far as I can tell. It's also like at the bottom of the screen when you're on the main menu. You do racing and stuff. Basically, there's like it's basically like a little open world where you go and do quests, and all the quests are pretty silly, like, you know, helping people get unstuck from being in the snow and things like that. But yeah, it's just very relaxing, and like the atmosphere and style are really good. All the music on all the music in the game has like this weird intercom-y effect applied to it, so it doesn't like sound good, but it sounds like it's like an intercom in the on the ski hill or whatever, playing this music. And there's a bunch of like random Namco music because it's a Bandai Namco game. There's like a bunch of Namco music, so there's like Katamari Damacy music while you're like skiing down this hill and stuff. Very cute. I like it a lot. I like the characters. The text chat stuff is pretty silly. It's like a bunch of characters going kind of like an Animal Crossing character or something. I am very impressed by that game. I definitely want to check out, if not the We Ski and Snowboard, which is like the sequel. I do want to check out Go Vacation, which I've heard is like the ultimate form of We Ski in some ways. There's also this game called Fishing Resort by Prope that has like a very similar style that I'd like to check out someday. I think Fishing Resort is kind of expensive, actually. I'll have to actually look into that again. It's probably not that expensive. It's probably like a like a $30, $40 Wii game or something like that. But I don't know. You never know what gets expensive these days. It's not expensive. Glass Forest, the love story for girls, I think is what this is called. It's all in Japanese on the front, so I can't remember, but the love adventure probably for girls is probably what that says. At least that's adventure. Adventure. I picked this up because it is a HuneX game. If you haven't seen there, it's right there. I'm going to bump the camera. But yeah, it's a HuneX game. So I was like, oh, time to pick up another HuneX title. There's a store near me in town. For some reason, every time I go there, they have some random HuneX game that they imported. This is just an Otome game, but I actually had a lot of fun with it. The art is kind of a mess, but I think it has a nice vibe to it. Like the forest, at least in the opening video, seems to be like an active threat in some ways to the characters in the story, and I feel like they do a really good job of like putting that unsettling tone on the forest part of the game. Like basically your grandfather or dad died, and you get this house that's in this forest, or you inherit it, and then you go stay there, and you're like little brother or a very little brother like character. I think is he on the back here? Yeah, he's right there. This little boy here. I'm gonna give you a good close to that little boy there. There you go, nice and focused. Anyways, he basically is like showing you around the house, and all is good for like 30 minutes, and then you're like, I'm gonna go down this path, and he's like, don't go down that path, it's dangerous. So of course the next day you go down that path, and at the end of the path is a cafe full of very, very attractive men, or at least supposed to be very attractive. Whether or not they succeeded in that is another thing. And you just go and you have some food there and stuff. And that's basically where I stopped. But I think it did a really good job of creating a very like ominous vibe, and it kept me entertained for like the 45 minutes I spent on it. Whether or not I will play the whole thing is another thing. But I said that about First Kiss Story, and looky here, boy oh boy, First Kiss Story definitely became a thing. So if you're interested in HuneX, please go check out my HuneX Fighters 98 video that I posted up not too long ago. That is that video like basically explains a little bit of like what HuneX is and kind of why I like a particular era and their design. Nintendo GameCube, not really known for its RPGs. This game is a multi-platform RPG. It is the Lord of the Rings, Third Age. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. My sister absolutely loved the series when we were growing up, like the movies and stuff, and I'm pretty sure she read the books and stuff. I was not much of a reader, nor am I much of a Western fantasy kind of guy. But I've always had my eye on this one because I remember hearing it was pretty good. I like stories that cover characters who aren't like central core leading figures. So like in this game, you play as like, at least from the beginning, you play as this like random human dude. I don't know who this dude is. And then you also like an elf lady. It looks like there's some major characters. I think, is that Legolas or just someone? I don't know. There's someone on the back of this box that kind of looks like Legolas. I don't know. But basically it mostly covers some characters who aren't main players in the main story of the game. And I think what I was most impressed by was it's like a Final Fantasy X clone. I think like from what I played, it seems very much like a Final Fantasy X, in terms of like, you have the little bar on the right that kind of shows like where you're end up in the attack positioning, and you use different attacks and spells which then push you further down depending on what spell you did. So if you use like a heavy duty spell, the enemy might be able to attack 3 times before you get the chance to act again, kind of thing. Presentation was really good. Voice acting is really good. I was actually overall super impressed by this game from the short time I got to spend with it. And it's actually a 2-disc game on the GameCube. I'm not sure like the length, if it's like a typical 50-hour RPG. I do like this quote from Electronic Gaming Monthly: "The most exciting RPG since Final Fantasy." So that's a silly thing, but yeah, I'll look forward to checking this out eventually someday. That's kind of the answer to a lot of these. Eventually, someday, I might check this out. But I was very impressed by this game, and I think I'm more interested in checking it out than I was even when I picked it up. So I want to spend more time with that, and let's see what else we got down here. What do we want? Let's pick out another PAL PS2 game. Do you like Hotel Dusk or Trace Memory? How about Capcom? Because I have no idea if Capcom has anything to do with this game other than publishing it. Glass Rose. It's from the developers of it's Sing, the developers of the Trace Memory Hotel Dusk series that were popular on like the DS. And this game came before that stuff. It's basically I guess you could call it like a murder mystery kind of thing. I spent maybe like with all these games, spent maybe like 45 minutes on it, and it's not nearly as accessible as a lot of their other games. It's very obtuse. Basically, you're just dude who's like in this mansion, and you basically travel back in time, and you kind of have not really amnesia, but you don't really know where you are, and everybody else perceives you having amnesia. They think you're a different person, I guess. And so you kind of go around, and you just basically search the environment for clues and things like that, as you typically would, but you have the chance to like get visions and things like that. And then also probably the most obtuse part of the game is kind of like these dialogue. Like you can basically highlight text on a dialogue box and ask questions about text, but it can be pretty finicky. Like sometimes you'd be like, oh, what did I like? Them saying, oh, you fainted right after we told you about this thing, and then you like highlight, tell me, or told you about this thing, as like the text you want to ask about, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? But if you say this thing and highlight that, he'll be like, oh yes, the dude who died in this room. You fainted after the dude who died in this room. So, and then I think maybe what might be the most punishing is that there's actually are game over states in this game. I haven't reached one yet, but you have like a limited amount of energy and a limited amount of time to get through some of the story sequences, I believe. I think we might stream this game, so if you're interested, stick around. Maybe we'll get to this sometime in the near future. I'm not quite sure what the plans are for streaming after Tales of the Tempest, either this or how about the other game that I was thinking about streaming. Let's go and pick that up. Private Idol. Also a Super CD game. Requires the arcade card, which apparently, if you don't know, PC Engine CD games can require like certain cards and stuff that I guess enhance the hardware. Maybe it's similar to like the Nintendo 64 RAM stuff. But yeah, this game, I actually am concerned that I like it too much. So why Private Idol is relevant to me is May is one of the characters in HuneX Fighters 98. So she's kind of like the brawler character, and so I kind of wanted to check this game out because I had experience with Asha from Blue Breaker, and obviously I played the first Kiss Story, so I had experience with Asha, but I didn't really know anything about May. So I wanted to check this out, and it was pretty cheap. It's like, I think it was like $10 or something like that, and I think I ended up buying one that was like in slightly better condition for like $12 or something like that. But you're essentially like a detective who's also an idol, unsurprisingly by the name probably. There's actually a Saturn series called Private Idol with an I rather than EYE, and that series seems to be completely unrelated. Oops, sorry, kicked my table if you heard that. But yeah, basically, it's like an adventure game. You just kind of walk around, you solve puzzles and things like that, and you just talk to characters, and there's like a bunch of voice acting. Being a CD game, they definitely go out of their way to show that stuff off. The atmosphere is pretty cool. The first chapter is basically like a haunted house. You have a bunch of people, like, I don't know, as many people are on this case, a bunch of people in this haunted house, and people start disappearing, and you got to start like solving the mystery. And I'm going to assume, I don't know for sure, but I assume the later chapters switch to different environments. Like, cause there are some things about May in both the OVA series she's in and the game that really don't fit this like haunted house atmosphere. So I feel like there's probably more to this game, but I don't know. We'll see. I played like an hour and a half of it. I only meant to play like 30 minutes of it, but I got sucked in, hooked. And had a good time with it. I'm just playing it on Metafane right now. Metafane. Reality is that right now it's very hard for me to justify spending $300 to $500 on like a Duo R, and for specifically this game, because like I said, Monster Maker is cool and all, but I'm not particularly like pursuing it. So my biggest fear is that I'll play this game, I will really like it, I will really want to make a video on it, and I'll really want to show it off using real hardware, and I will really want to spend $500 on something I don't need. so yeah, I don't know, but yeah, we might stream that game. That might be fun. I hope there's like a bunch of actors on the back here. The fun things about being like and playing the PCFX and all these like Japanese games with like a voice, trying so hard to get this focused, but I don't know, all these Japanese games that have like a strong voice cast, is you get to see all these voice actors. And as somebody who doesn't know anything about anime or any voice actors ever in Japan, you just look at those faces and go like, yep, those are sure are people. Those could indeed be somebody who voiced a video game. All right. Hey guys, we got Cheer 2 here. If you have been following me recently, I bought Cheer 1 originally. I have not played any of Cheer 1. I have not put the disc in to make sure it works. I paid the $1 for it and put it on my shelf. Cheer 2, I paid $2 for it. And here it is. But I did play a little bit of Cheer 2 actually because of this video. And you know, I wonder, so there's kind of a history of what's going on here with me and Cheer. Whether it will ever amount to anything is another thing, but if you follow the website, I recently played through Gabriella's Ghostly Groove Monster Mix. It's a WiiWare dance title, and I love the look of Gabriella's Ghostly Groove. I maybe don't love the gameplay of Gabriella's Ghostly Groove. It is fine. I think it was like the reality is that like it's basically, you know, they're dance games, and really how much fun you're gonna have with them really just depends on how much you're willing to invest. You know, if you like, and I should say this about Wii Ski as well, like a lot of times you just got to be like willing to let the developers play with the controls and then give them the lenience to be like, hey, you may not be actually looking for this motion that I'm gonna do here to make this work, but I'm going to do the motion because you asked me to, and that's how, you know, you design the game to, you know, be a fun experience. If you just sit there and waggle, you're not going to have a great time usually. Yes, you'll get the job done. In some cases, like Gabriella's Ghostly Groove, the game may even be better that way, or easier that way. So I kind of wanted to tell you Cheer 2 to try to test to see if these games could be a bit more precise in what they're looking for. I think Cheer 2 actually suffers in some cases where it's basically just a lot of the movements really don't allow you as a player to keep track of what's going on. They'll sometimes like make you look away from the screen, or they just don't really coordinate, you know, what your body movements are going to be. They only really coordinate the motions you need to put the Wii remotes in. And I think that's like a pretty big disconnect where Gabriella's Ghostly Groove, I feel like you know the body motions, like you may not immediately know the body motions, but it repeats enough that you can kind of figure it out. And I don't know, like the movements are pretty simple overall. Cheer 2, I feel like I had a lot more trouble with. Some of the movements are quite a bit more exaggerated or require you to do some positioning that at least me as a 30-year-old overweight man had a hard time really being super adaptable for. So I don't know, it's fun. I like the look of it. And the only problem with these kind of games is like, I don't know if this game came out in Japan. I don't know what the music lineup looked like in Japan, but when you get a rhythm game in an American market aimed at a broad audience, you're going to end up with some pretty generic soundtracks. I'm trying to see if there's anything on here that says anything about what music is on here. But hey, imagine a rhythm game, a family-friendly rhythm game, and the kind of music you'd expect on there. It's probably on WeCheer too. This is the last one. I originally didn't really want this, but for various reasons, I ended up with it. The Sword of Tyria. I used to call it Tyria, but in the voice acting in the game, it is called Tyria, so you don't really say the H. This is a really cool game. I really like it. I think this and Wii Ski have been the most. This Wii Ski and Lord of the Rings: The Third Age have been probably the most surprising games for me in this collection. This is a Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo production, so the same studio who did like the 3D Castlevania games, Nano Breaker. I believe the director on this game is also the Area of Sorrow director. And yeah, and like I said earlier, like some of these cases are not in English. This is definitely in, I think, I don't know, is that German? I know the camera's not great for this, but there are words on there that are not in the language I speak. But I love the look of this game, and I thought it was going to be like a very generic kind of hack and slash game, but it actually does some really cool stuff with comboing. Basically what you do is you melee an enemy a bunch of times, and eventually stars will kind of float out of their head. And when stars float out of the head, you have two options. At least early on, you have two options. You can basically knock the enemy back away from you, or you can knock them in the air above you. But at that point, you're not expected to follow up. Your AI companions, you have two AI companions. This lady here, big old booby lady, and then big old lion man back there. They basically will if they're close enough to the enemy when you knock them, they will combo them in the air and then knock them back to you, and then you basically combo them again. And when you're doing that, you're building up a meter that eventually allows you to like unleash a super move that can clear out a bunch of enemies. So even though there may be like 12 enemies kind of swarming around you, you kind of just want to focus on one and just try to build up that combo, so at some point you can just do the AoE and wipe everybody out. And it's really cool. I like the voice acting a lot. It is kind of generic anime kind of thing, but visually there's some really cool stuff going on here. I am very much looking forward to this game. I think this game is also, like similar to Gun Gauge, a Michiru Yamane soundtrack, so a lot of the music sounds really cool as well, I think that's it. What do we got here? Like 36 minutes. So, although I think I have some cuts in there, so probably close. So basically, this is probably like the length of a podcast. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with some of these games. Private Idol, I think I kind of expected that I'd like quite a bit. I think Glass Rose I was maybe a little disappointed in, but Third Age, that game's pretty cool so far. And Wii Ski, I might have to do something on Wii Ski at some point. I just love the style of this game so much that I feel like I really need to do something to, even if it's just like a podcast or maybe just like a quick play, but I really want to do something on Wii Ski at some point. And then also Man Dating Game. I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. It's maybe the same thing about First Kiss Story of being like, oh, I'm just kind of figuring out the Japanese and stuff because I have like a year of Japanese I took like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still kind of interesting to be able to use that. But I think these are really the highlights of this pickup here. So like I said, I don't really know if I'll be doing this a ton in the future. This is kind of a lot of games, and then right before this, I kind of picked up a lot of games too. I'm sure I will continue to not do a great job in having some self-control with buying games, but I think I want to slow it down for now, so we probably won't do something like this anytime in the near future again. But I thought it might be a fun thing to do, and so if you hate it, maybe we won't do it anymore. But if you like it, maybe we'll do it again next time I have a crisis, 30-year-old crisis. I'm not 30 yet, but I'm getting there. and then buy too many video games. We'll see though. HuneX. Everybody loves HuneX, right? OneControllerReport.com is the website. I don't know when this is going up, so just go check it out. I'm sure the HuneX Fighters stuff will probably still be up on the website as the main content. So go check out HuneX Fighters 98. That's a really cool game. And yeah, maybe we'll look at some of these games in the future. And hopefully we have a good time with them. Thank you. Have a great week. Bye.